Hi, very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to VLAN's Asia's webinar for 2021, the first webinar that we'll be hosting today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and being on time. I've seen that some of you all have actually joined 15 minutes before the webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time off today and joining us for today's webinar, which is the roadmap for map to digitalization. Thank you so much. So before we start, right, I'd like to remind everyone to just open up the Q&A section, which is located on the right-hand side of your screen. There is a blimp with an icon, which is a blimp with a question mark in it. So you just click on that little icon and then you open up the Q&A section and you can drop your questions throughout this session if you have any on it, and we will take them at the end of the session. And also do like our social media page on Facebook and LinkedIn, right? So you'll get updates on the current webinars as well as promotion and also some tech news that we usually share on the platform on a daily basis. Just keep yourself updated on tech. Okay, so everyone's still stuck at home, working from home since last March, MCO 2.0, that's what the government is calling it. And also that there's some initiatives that the government has actually introduced to us, as well as there are grants out there to help businesses, right? But I'm sure some of y'all that are actually joining us today, right, to know more about what these grants are for, and some of y'all are also looking at how we can actually leverage on the initiatives that the government has actually provided to us. And well, there are also some of y'all who are also wondering how to digitalize your business, or what is automation and how your business can actually leverage on all these grants that are available, or is it suitable for y'all to apply for it, right? So yeah, so we will be covering those topics shortly, and also well, some of y'all do have customer relationship management softwares, and some of y'all may not have it, right? And there are some questions on what is that for, or is your business big enough to actually apply for one? And some of y'all are actually still running campaigns online and also ads, but how do you actually track these campaigns? How do you actually communicate with your team online as we still work from home? Are you still using Zoom? Are you still using Google? Those free softwares out there. And also, how do you manage your inventories if you are doing your online businesses, right? So these are some of the questions that we will address today. And to address this question for today, we have Lance Chiang, which is our founder. Thank you, Lance, for joining us and also taking the time to show us more about this. So yeah,
Cool.
I'm gonna hand it over to you, Lance.
Thank you. Share my screen. Clear?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Welcome everyone. As Norman mentioned just now, I'm the founder of VLAN Asia. I'm here to talk a little bit about how we digitalize ourselves, and also maybe give a bit of an idea what digitalization is all about and how you can actually create a roadmap for yourselves, and also try to do more with less lah. So like he mentioned just now, we are quite a bespoke technology concierge service. We have customers around Asia. What we do is we really help companies to fulfill their business potential through technology. You can see some of the products that we carry. We are actually a very early Microsoft Cloud Service provider. We have a gold competency, and we are the first Zendesk partner in Asia as well. And they are only one in Malaysia. What are all of these brands? I'll come into that in a while. Maybe what I can do is, to start this off, maybe if you guys can take out your phones right now, right? I see that QR code there. Scan it, go to the site. Let me start off the poll. I just want to take a poll on what does digitalization mean to you in one word. Just scan that. I give you about 5 seconds, 10 seconds to do this. Scan it, go to the site, and just put in one word that actually what you think digitalization means to you. All right. Okay. So just give another 5 seconds. All right, cool. I'll go to the next slide while waiting for that. So today's agenda, we're going to be talking a little bit about the differences between digitization and digitalization. why you need to digitalize, some advantages on costs for not digitalizing, some areas that you can digitalize, some next steps, and also some funding options that you can also apply for, maybe grants, maybe loans and such. Yeah. Now, okay. This so far we've got only one word: upgrade. Somebody else? Anybody else scanning? Only one response so far. Feel free to click on. Feel free to scan that QR code again. Maybe I'll come back to this in a while. All right. So what's the difference between digitization and digitalization? Now, digitization is actually just about turning a manual form into an online form. Right? You all heard of Google Forms before. You all heard of creating a Word file and converting a PDF and sending it as soft copy. That's digitization. Digitalization is actually about changing an entire process with technology. Right? Give an example. A couple of years ago, we noticed as a company, VLAN Asia, we noticed as a company that our employee claims were actually quite hefty. We were paying about $10,000 a month on claims. We had about 10 engineers back then. Then we dug a bit deeper. We realized a lot of these claims actually came from things like transportation, things like toll, parking, petrol claims. Then we realized at the end of the month also, right, we realized a lot of our engineers actually sit in the office for a whole day to actually stick their claims, stick their receipts onto the claims form and submit. 10 engineers every month, they take about 2 hours to do it. So that's about 20 to 30 hours of man hours wasted just doing claims. So I figured, I think there should be a better way of doing things. So we did what we call a sanity check to actually see whether or not this process actually makes sense or not. So we came up with very simple ideas, very simple change in the process, whereby we actually implemented Grab for Business. In case you guys don't know, Grab also comes in business flavor as well. So what happens is you can actually register as a company with Grab, and you can assign every single one of your staff a Grab account. And all of this tied back to your single company account, and you can tie one credit card to it. How this actually improved our process is that now all of the guys, everywhere they go, they just take a Grab. They don't have to pay parking, they don't have to drive their own car, they don't have to pay toll. So all of those receipts, all of those claims are totally eliminated. Second thing it actually helps is also at the end of the month, all our finance needs to do is process one claim, which is the credit card claim that is attached to this Grab for Business account. So in one swoop, we didn't need to do any more employee claims, and after that, our finance also had their work reduced by a fair bit, because right now they only have to process only one bill. So it made it saved us a lot of time. So just by changing that process of, instead of having transportation claims, we just use Grab for Business. So that's what we call digitalization, using a technology that's already available out there. All right. Now, some misconceptions about digitalization, right? Digitalization is not about technology. All right, it is actually about people and processes, and how you actually have a mindset to constantly improve your process, how to improve your business. All right. So what do people usually say when they want to digitalize? What do they usually say? They say, oh, I cannot do e-commerce. I can't track all my customers. I don't know the status of my company without waiting 3 days for reports. I don't have visibility over my projects. Improve customer support. I need to get up to date. Upgrade. Just now one of the words was upgrade. I need to be able to work from home now. MCO, everybody needs to work from home, and I want to make more informed decisions, right? But for us, why we wanted to digitalize our company is because we wanted to give the best customer experience to our customers as possible. But we can't do that if our data is all over the place. Our data is not accessible. It took us more than a day to turn around requests. We had to rely on our office to work. We can't work from home. I don't have a bird's eye view over our numbers. Our data security, forms, a lot of manual processes where there's a lot of human mistakes. So it's been 4 years and we are still digitalizing, we are still changing, we're still looking for new ways to improve our business. right? Here's some fun facts. Why we wanted to do, why we implemented systems for us to manage our customers, how we actually help our customers do better is because a lot of times customers prefer self-service. This is actually a poll done by Zendesk. They say actually 76% of customers actually prefer self-service, and a lot of your time in your company, or a lot of your staff or your agents, a lot of their time is spent looking for information. So how do you actually have systems where you can have all the information that you need at your fingertips as and when they want it, rather than spending 20% of your time looking for the information, right? How do you have one single channel where all of your customers can communicate with you so that they can have the best experience ever? For me, I prefer using phone calls and WhatsApp, unfortunately, WhatsApp. But some people, they prefer using Telegram. Some people prefer using Twitter. Some people use Facebook Messenger. So a lot of people use very different channels to communicate with you. You can't be having 10 different phones, having 10 different apps trying to communicate with all your various customers. So how do you make sense of all of these communications channels so you don't go crazy managing your customers, right? Now, Netflix did not kill Blockbuster, but ridiculous late fees did. Uber and Grab didn't kill the taxi, but fare control did. Apple and Spotify didn't kill the music industry, but people being forced to buy a full album when I just want to listen to those two songs, that was what drove people to Apple and Spotify. Amazon, Lazada, Alibaba didn't kill retailers, but poor customer service and experience did. Experience means that you don't have to leave the comfort of your home to actually buy what you want to buy, right? Airbnb isn't killing the hotel industries, but limited availability and also pricing differences. So you see, technology itself isn't the disruptor here, but not being customer-centric is actually the biggest threat to almost every business out there, all right? But what's the cost of digitalization? It's actually lower than you think. And the cost of not digitalizing is actually higher than you think. Right? Now, what's the cost of not digitalizing? Your overheads will always increase. You'll always be inefficient. You're ripe for disruption. You can afford sense of security until something really bad happens, like MCO2. Nobody expected MCO2 to happen, but then it happened. So now a lot of people are scrambling to actually even work right now, right? Everyone is getting faster, more personalized, more convenient. You like people when they address you by name when you go to a restaurant, right? So everything is getting more and more personalized. So the biggest problem with digitalization in Malaysia especially is because manual labor is cheap, unfortunately. But having said that, although manual labor is cheap, because of COVID, everybody is forced to change right now. So if you don't change, the market is going to wreck you, just like the wrecking ball. Okay. Now, the Harvard Business Review actually says there are two main reasons why digital transformations fail. One of them is unspoken disagreements among top managers about goals, which means there's no buy-in. The second one is there's a divide between digital capabilities supporting the pilot and capabilities available to support this and scaling it. But in short, it's actually just the lack of resources. So these are the two main reasons that digital transformation fail, right? But in our view, what companies really need to digitalize is actually, number one, most importantly, is leadership buy-in. And also the rank and file. That means the whole company needs to buy into the idea that this change needs to happen in order for our business to actually grow, in order for us to survive a pandemic, for example, right? Everybody needs to have an entrepreneurial mindset where you always try to improve and improve. Yes, there are some people who are very, how should I say, risk adverse or rather change adverse, but there are ways of actually getting buy-in from very traditional thinkers, but the whole idea is to actually make life easier, to make your job easier so that you can actually set aside menial tasks and go to something a bit more, how should I say, higher thinking, where you actually need to use your brain a bit more. You need internal change agents, champions to actually make that particular change, a change management process, of course, a plan. All right. Now, digitalization comes in a few forms, right? one can be disruptive in a very specific industry. Say, for example, Airbnb is is disrupting the hotel industry, right? Or digitalization can also come in a form where it cuts across all industries. I'm saying this because we have a few questions relating to a few very specific industries, namely the travel industry, right? But to be honest, I really don't know how to disrupt your industry, but I can very certainly find some ways to automate and simplify your your back office processes to reduce your costs, or also to create new business channels or communication channels with your customers, right? So there are 5 areas that we ourselves embarked when we started our digitalization journey. Productivity, customer experience, finance, accounting, HR, and also our infrastructure, our technology infrastructure, our servers and such. Right? I'll take you guys through one at a time. The first one is people productivity. These are some of the questions that we actually asked ourselves throughout the years. I'm not going to repeat all of this. I can actually share the slides with all of you, but I would imagine a lot of these questions, some of you are also asking yourselves: how do I work from home? How do I manage my teams when I'm working from home? How do I communicate effectively? How do I get data if my data is in the office, right? How do I know whether my guys are actually working or not? Right? These are some of the basic people productivity questions that we asked ourselves. And throughout the MCO, the last MCO until today, we implemented a few changes to the way we operate, and these are some of the things that we actually implemented ourselves. So we did daily huddles. We started doing more chats with our teammates, but not using WhatsApp. We actually have calendars integrated with our video conferencing tools so that we actually know who is available for meetings and such. We are able to we actually edit and share files on the fly. We can actually collaborate on files concurrently. These are a few things that we actually did to improve our own productivity. But I'm very sure a lot of you have already seen a lot of video conferencing tools over the past couple of months. You've got Teams, you've got Google Meets, you have Zoom, GoToMeeting. There's a lot of flavors out there, if you ask me. But one of the reasons why we use Microsoft Teams is because everything is integrated within one single platform. We can open and amend Word files within Teams itself, within the meeting that we are actually holding with our customers or with our own team ourselves. We are actually able to have all of our data available within Microsoft Teams itself to be shared within that conference itself, within that video conference itself. One of the pro tips that we like to share is also that if you keep your video on during meetings, right, you actually build trust a bit faster. If you notice, you actually listen to people with video more than you actually listen to those who don't have their video on. Chatting on Microsoft Teams is also a lot easier because you don't actually have to scroll up like 500 messages to actually find your name. You can actually have very specific conversations on Microsoft Teams in the chat functions based on the topics that you're actually talking about. Yes, I know WhatsApp, you can probably create new groups, but then you're going to have 100,000 groups. So the relevance of some of the groups also are quite questionable. So you can actually have private chats, you can have file shared among chat groups, you can actually have different things like project planning tools. You can actually have all sorts of other things shared within the chat in Teams itself. Files, I mentioned, you can actually share files just like a file server. You can dispense of your file server from your office already. This is one of the things that we actually use quite extensively ourselves. We actually share. We don't share the file. Basically, the Word file or the document file that the whole team is working on, right, is available in Teams itself, right? We can actually have 4 or 5 different people within the team working on the same document rather than emailing the same document back and forth where you have version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. Here, if you look at the screen, right, you can actually see the Linda Coleman is actually amending one part of the file, one part of Word document, whereas the person who is actually working who actually owns this is a Farron Roper. So there's a lot of ways you can actually collaborate on one single file, so you don't actually have to leave Microsoft Teams, and you actually don't have to have multiple versions of the same file flying here and there through email or even through WhatsApp. Right. So this is one of the few advantages that we find very useful in Teams itself. Of course, you can create forms, very similar to Google Forms. And this is something that is quite funky as well. We can actually see the usage of Teams. So basically, you can actually know whether or not who's working and who's not, how effective are they, what time are they most effective, and you can actually keep track on your team and your and the rest of the people working together with you, and work when they work best. Right? There's all sorts of reports that you actually can pull. You can pull out things like how many messages has been read, calls, inbound calls. You can even pull out reports like how many emails that you actually received in a week, how many meetings that you attended in a week, all sorts of reports. So it's quite comprehensive what you can find out about yourself through the usage reports in Teams itself. Right. So far, that's about people and productivity internally, where we actually use Microsoft Teams very extensively. Next, we will go into customer experience. Now, customer experience is all about marketing, sales, support. But these are the three main areas of customer engagement. So basically, you've got your pre-relationship where you do marketing events, you do campaigns. You actually begin the relationships when you actually make the first sale. Right, and then once you make the first sale already, you need to keep things in check, right? You need to make sure the customer is happy all the time, right? So you got your support. So there are three areas of customer support, customer engagements when we talk about digitalization from our side, our point of view, right? Now, these are some of the questions that we asked ourselves. So with so many channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, WhatsApp, how do I make sense of all of it? How do I use WhatsApp in my business? How do I improve my customer service? How do I use social media? How do I use web chats or chatbots on my website? Right? How do I rate my staff? How do I know whether or not my customers are actually happy with our support team, with our technical team? Right. So these are some of the questions that we asked ourselves. So for customer experience, and these are some of the questions that we asked ourselves about sales and marketing. How do I find new customers? Everybody is looking for this now. How do I do webinars like this? Through this, of course, this is through Microsoft Teams, but how do I do webinars? How do I track visits to my website? How do I do e-commerce? These are very simple, basic questions that we ask ourselves. Right now, another poll. Can we just try to scan this? And also see so that we can actually have a bit more idea how we all think before we actually buy something, whether it's online or even offline. All right. So can you please scan this and then just choose which product, which activity that you will actually do before you actually make a purchase, whether it's online or offline. I'll give you another 10 seconds for this. Okay, I shall move on. Now, so what we did ourselves is we reframed the conversation. So rather than asking what do the customers actually, what are our customers' requirements, right? We actually asked ourselves what experience should our customers get from us, right? So we meet those expectations using technology. So it can mean speed, it can mean accuracy, it can mean conciseness, but ultimately, of course, your cost will always be lower. All right. So far we only have two. So these are the three things that usually people or some of you actually responded to. First one, of course, is to check out their website, check out their Facebook, their Instagram, Not too bad. Okay, but if you notice, the first thing that you will do is check out their website. Everyone, all seven or eight of you actually said you will always check out their website first, then their Facebook, then only you talk about WhatsApping them. So, question here is, you yourself also say that you will actually check out their website first, right? So, what are you doing to actually boost your numbers or actually know what people are doing on your website? Food for thought, guys. What are you doing on your Facebook that is actually where you can actually find out more information about some of your customers or your prospects? Right. So Facebook, WhatsApp is important for everyone. WhatsApp as well, Instagram, email. I'm pretty glad nobody said you're going to SMS them. Okay, cool. Now, comes to HubSpot. So HubSpot has this thing called the customer flywheel. So basically, you actually try to attract them. There are a lot of ways you can actually engage with a customer. You attract, but of course, you need to first attract them. You need to engage with them, and then you need to delight them. Right? Attract them. How do you attract them? How do you actually get them to come to your app? How do you attract them to come to your website? How do you attract them to be interested with you in the first place? Once they are attracted, what are you doing to actually engage with them? How do you collect their information so that you can actually talk to actually convince them that what you are actually selling is actually useful for them? And then once you actually sold something to them already, how do you actually make them even happier by using your product, by delighting them with all sorts of other campaigns? So a company can do a few of this or all of this, or you can outsource a certain part of this to an outsourced agency. But in the end, this is how you actually attract, how you actually engage with your customers. So what are the things that you should be doing? You should be doing ads, blogs, social media. You should be doing more email marketing, lead management. How do you do all of this? So how we do things. So for example, this is actually our website. This is the analytics behind our website. If you go to our www.vland.asia, right? So basically, we actually get analytics based on the number of people who actually view our website. We actually get analytics on how long people spend on every page, and we see what works. If certain things work, if let's say this campaign works well, or this part of the website is more attractive to some of our customers, we put more emphasis into some of these certain pages. For example, a lot of people are very interested to see who are our existing customers, so we put a bit more emphasis on how to engage our customers through that specific page, right? Another example is if you guys are in this webinar, you probably would have either seen our ad, received the WhatsApp EDM, or a social media post. So again, this is actually managed through our HubSpot, where we actually posted the ad on HubSpot, through HubSpot itself, to social media, through LinkedIn, to Facebook. We also used, of course, EDM methods, where we actually use email blasting services to actually send this out to some of you as well. And this is how you attract people to your campaign to actually attend this webinar, right? Then the moment people are already interested to actually click through, to the, let's say, the Smart Automation Grant, they come into a landing page or a form. Right? They come to the landing page where they actually were interested in whatever that you are advertising. Again, on HubSpot, you can actually create landing pages on the fly. We actually created this landing page in about 10 minutes, where you can actually explain the campaign that you're doing. And more importantly, you see the form on the right, put your name, number, and email address so that we can actually contact you. This is where contact management actually comes in, where the moment you fill up this form, the details of whoever that filled it up actually goes into our CRM for further engagements to actually see how we can actually help the person who actually filled up the form. Right. Beyond that, we actually also track how effective some of the campaigns or the ads were. We are actually able to see how many impressions were made for a specific post, how many people actually click through, how much actually let's say we spend $30, we have about 300 clicks, so every click is about 10 cents. Sorry, 30 cents. So anyway, my math sucks. So but in the end, you will actually know how much every click actually costs you, and everything can be managed through HubSpot itself, right? Then of course, the moment they actually sign up, you can actually track who actually signed up, whether or not they are actually a prospect. This is where the CRM part comes in. Early parts were all about marketing. This is where CRM, where you actually manage your customers, whether or not this is where you can actually see your pipeline, how much you are actually potentially going to get from this prospect, that prospects, at what stage each prospects are, and so you can actually plan out activities based on which stage they are. Right, so every single stage you can have a different activity. You can have an EDM, you can have a webinar, you can have another email blast to them saying that this is a new specific campaign that we are launching just for this requirement. So a lot of things you can do. Right, so that's about HubSpot. That's about tracking your pipelines. But having said that, a lot of businesses really cannot keep up with their customers' expectations because there are so many channels. You cannot keep track of them all using 10 different devices, using 10 different screens. So how do you make sense of all of that? All right, so now comes Zendesk. Zendesk is actually something that we use, that we simplified a lot of our communications with our customers. So regardless whatever channel that our customers reach us for technical support or customer service, right? It all comes into one single dashboard. If you see that on the screen, right, you actually see these are all some examples of unresolved tickets coming in from multiple different channels. Can be Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, telephone call, emails, you name it. Right. So this is how some of our agents actually respond to some of the requests coming in. So for example, Katie Smith actually says she needs help for something, right? So the agent here actually just responds in WhatsApp, in Zendesk, and it will respond back to the person who requested it through the platform that they send it through. If they send it through WhatsApp, they will receive a WhatsApp message through Zendesk. If they send it through email, they will receive an email through Zendesk as well. So it is a single platform where you can manage all the communications with all of your customers, regardless what is the purpose for. All right, even phone calls. So you can. What we've done in the past is we actually integrated. We integrated a telephony service called 3CX, where we are actually able to actually receive telephone calls and store that telephone call onto Zendesk itself, where you can actually have training. You can actually have a record of what was actually spoken on the call with the engineer or with the customer service agent that you were talking to just now. All right. This is emails and messages, and can be anything. Right? Can be any channel. This is Zendesk Chat, where we can integrate a chatbot or chat function in your website itself. So for example, let's say if you go to our website www.vlan.asia, you actually see a chatbot at the side there. That's actually Zendesk or Hubspot talking to you. So you can actually communicate with your customers when they are at your website itself. So that's another way of actually engaging with your customers. All right. So this is some of the ticket views this is some of the views that you can have based on what are the tickets that are currently still open, which have not been resolved yet. So one of the reasons why we use a service desk or a ticketing system is because we want to make sure that all of our customer requests are actually taken care of. We don't want to let any slip through the cracks, right? Because in the past, when we rely solely on emails to follow up with our customers, right, some people actually get forgotten, and some issues fall through the cracks, and they don't get attended to. When they don't get attended to, or they take too long to get attended to, customers feel very frustrated. So we want to try to avoid that. So we use Zendesk to actually track who is still pending something that needs to be responded to, and what are the things that needs to be done, whether or not I should be handing this to my superior to actually help me with this specific customer or not, or whether or not I can actually resolve this on my own. And if let's say, for example, within a day, if I don't respond, I get notified myself again, I get reminded myself so that I can actually attend back to the customer the next day. So it creates a continuance. It also creates a single source of truth for every single customer, where you know for a fact every single issue that this customer actually raised with you before, and you can actually engage them better, and you can also look for trends. You can actually see what are the past issues that this person faced, and you can actually say, hey, based on your past issues, maybe you can actually do this to improve this whole process where you won't have this any more problems. So it gives you a sense of where what the customers has been facing in the past and how to rectify them to prevent certain issues from happening again. So that's some examples that we can give. We also sometimes use this for sales desk as well. So for example, somebody sends in an email to sales@VLAN.Asia. A ticket is created to make sure that every single sales request or a customer inquiry does not get lost in email. So everybody is actually attended to. So that's Zendesk. One of the interesting things that we notice is that text and WhatsApp is rising, is going up. A lot of people are very comfortable inquiring businesses, whether or not it's for services, products, before you even become a customer, using WhatsApp. I do that a lot. I always text the seller, how long is the delivery time, where is the delivery coming from, and so on and so forth. So I use WhatsApp a lot to actually communicate with the sellers. So how are you using this information? Now, the good news is most businesses who actually engage with messaging apps, 98%, and this is actually statistically proven that 98% of customers are actually more satisfied using messaging apps. I suppose because a lot of people don't like to speak much, although telephone is second at 94%, but 98% for messaging. So what are you doing to engage your customers using messaging apps? Are you using a telephone? Or are you where it is not tracked, or if let's say you lose the phone or the person takes the phone away, you can't engage your customers again? Or would you be using a system where you can log in from anywhere because it's on the cloud, and you can actually engage your customers from anywhere? We have a customer who actually uses Zendesk to engage their customers, where the company actually does batteries. They do car batteries. During the MCO, a lot of people never start their engines, right? So naturally their batteries die, right? So they actually encountered a spike in growth in their company. So they were actually able to scale their contact center very easily because they were on Zendesk, they were on cloud. So they said, hey, I need to hire another 5 more customer service agents to cater to the sudden influx of customers, right? So they just called us up. We need 5 more users. We said we assign 5 more users to them. They're good to go. Traditionally, if you were to use a traditional client server environment, you won't be able to manage your contact center or your customer service center from the office, right? So because you're home. So this is something to think about, where Zendesk, because they're on cloud, you're actually able to move your contact center anywhere in the world. You can be even working from a beach somewhere. So the idea here is so that you can actually have a single source of truth to manage all of your operations in one single platform. Right. Okay, shifting gears, let's talk a little bit about finance and accounting. These were some of the questions that we asked ourselves when we were looking for accounting system that to replace MYOB in the past. We were worried about data entry, we were worried about infrastructure, we were worried about people having the right qualifications to manage the infrastructure. We were looking at tracking and audit, manual bank transaction recons, GST, statutory stuff, a lot of problems, right? So one of the reasons why we chose Xero is that think about traditional billing process. Let's say you're doing a business, you're doing a billing process, and you're starting, when you actually sign up a new customer. First thing you do, sales, is to actually create a quotation to the customer, right? That's one area, that's one part where you actually have to put data entry. You need to create a quotation using Microsoft Word or something. After that, you need to do data entry on your purchase order to your customer, to your suppliers. And sometimes some quotations might involve two different suppliers because you might get items from two different suppliers. So you got data entry for two different POs. After that, the accounts team need to create another invoice, possibly using Excel, again data entry. Then after that, when you actually collect money, you need to put in data entry into the accounts books and such again. So if you notice, there's a lot of repeated data entry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different areas where you actually have to type in the same information, the same things that you type in the quotation. So how Xero actually helped us is that, again, same thing, quotation is created by the sales team, but there are options where you can actually copy information from the quotation to the PO, to the both POs, to the invoice. Then after that, so you notice there's only one point of data entry, so there will be a lot less possibilities of data entry errors. All right, so lower chances of errors because you're actually copying information from the quotation to the PO, to the invoices and such. This is the dashboard that we actually use as well. We can actually at a glance know how much we're spending, how much people owe us, how much we owe other people. So there's a dashboard that's customizable to what you want to see. If you want to see your cash book, you want to see who owes you money big in front of you, you can actually customize that to you. This is interesting. This is what we find very useful for us. Nobody likes to chase money. Let's put it this way. And you don't like to actually pick up the phone or even just email the person. So Xero actually can do that for you. You can actually send collection reminders to people who actually owe you money within 7 days, when before it's 7 days overdue, or it's after it's 7 days overdue, 14 days overdue. It's up to you how often you want to talk the customer to actually pay you. And because this is system generated, although people can say, last generated, no, but at the very least, you can actually cover your bases saying that you've actually reminded the customers to actually make payment. So this is actually quite useful. It actually improved our collections a fair bit, maybe by about 30-40%. So it's actually quite good. This function is actually really good for us. Moving on is recon, bank reconciliation. So whenever you receive money for an invoice, right, it comes into the bank, into your bank account. You actually need to tell the accounting system that, okay, we received money already, correct? So what Xero does is, because traditionally what we used to have to do is in MOLB is you look at the bank statement on a physical copy of the bank statement, use a ruler across the bank statement and match it against whatever that is in our list of outstanding. Very tedious. You have to use a ruler to look up and look down, look up, look down. It's no accountant likes to do this, as our finance guy always tells us. So Xero actually has a function where, and it's smart enough to actually identify. So Xero actually pulls information from your bank. At this point in time, it's CIMB for now. It actually pulls information from your bank saying that, okay, let's say a payment actually came into your CIMB bank account, right? So for 6187, it came into your bank account. Xero actually picks that up and it actually matches against all of your outstanding. It finds 6187 and it asks you, is this payment for this? Is this payment actually for this invoice? All you need to do is click on the word OK there, and the payment is reconciled. So it saves a lot of time. Granted, it's maybe 3 to 5 seconds, but if you've got 100 transactions times 3.5, 3 to 5 seconds is a lot of time saved over a month. So that's why now reconciliation is a lot smarter, it's a lot faster as well. It also learns. Xero also learns your accounts as well. So in the future, it actually can suggest that this transaction is actually for this payment. So it actually learns through its AI as well. So a lot of advantages through that. And of course, we manage our books. I mean, these are some of the reporting that you can actually receive through Xero as well. So most of the basic reporting you can actually get through Xero for your audit purposes. I'm not saying Xero can cater to all companies. To be very frank, it doesn't cater to all companies. There are some some companies where, let's say, your inventory can be a bit more heavy. Your company that is very heavy on inventory, holding a lot of inventory, it can be a little bit cumbersome because Xero doesn't cater to a lot of inventory items. But having said that, there are a lot of advantages of actually using Xero for other businesses as well, right? Now, another funky thing about Xero is that the more people who are actually using Xero, right, the better. So, for example, let's say if I send an invoice out to my legal, to my trade vendor, to my vendor, right, or rather my vendor actually sends me an invoice, I make the payment. There's a lot of data entry going around. If everyone was on Xero, right, if let's say I received a invoice from my accounting, from my office maintenance or the utility property management company, I'm on Xero, they're on Xero. When they send me the invoice, I actually don't have to key in the invoice into my Xero. It comes in straight into my accounting system already. And when I make payment, and I say it makes payment, the other side, if they're on Xero, they will also say this payment has already been made. So there's a lot of manual work that is eliminated if more people are actually using Xero. So that's one of the added advantage. Okay, switching gears, we are looking into HR and payroll now. These are some of the questions that we asked ourselves. How do we do away with all sorts of manual calculations? How do I stay compliant? How do I do away with paper pay slips? Nowadays, I don't really like to see paper, but how do I do away with paper pay slips? How do I make things more efficient and reduce human errors? We actually work together with a company called Payroll Panda, where it's also a cloud system, where a lot of things can be automated, a lot of things can be digitalized, is online. So you can do your EA forms, you can actually have bank integrations where payments are actually made through Payroll Panda and it goes out to your employees and all the EPF and all the other statutory bodies. You got leave management, ESS, and also a lot of reporting stuff you can see. So this is some of the possible reports you can actually see, and also some of the things that you can do, like leave, timesheet, employees. You can actually. So one of the things that actually struck us is that we actually don't have to do a lot of manual calculations, especially when it comes to EPF and PCP. So it saved us a lot of time. Last time, what took us maybe about 3 days to manage for payroll now takes us less than half an hour. So it really saved us quite a fair bit of time. And of course, we also have all sorts of other systems that we bundle together as value-added services. We do e-claims, we do e-leave, where all of this, let's say, for example, you apply for leave through the system, the leave is actually automatically added into your calendar. So the whole company will see that you're actually on leave. So these are some of the advantages of having systems to actually manage all of this manual tasks that you used to do, or rather what we used to do. Lastly, of course, we talk about our own technology infrastructure. When I talk about infrastructure, I'm talking about servers, things like server rooms. Do I really need that server room? Server room cannot have sprinkler. How much are those licenses? So expensive on our license. I need to replace those licenses every 3 or 4 years, really. And how much does it cost to actually manage all these servers? Certified engineers are very expensive. And is it secure? The question I always get is cloud secure? A lot of people always ask me, is cloud secure? I always respond by saying, do you think you can outspend people like Google or Microsoft on cybersecurity? Do you think the small little server room is really impenetrable, or the amount of money that you spend on cybersecurity, if you even spend any on cybersecurity, is good enough to repel any hacking attempts? Yes, you can say you can always turn off the server, but usually hacking attempts happen before you even know that you've been hacked. Otherwise, the US government wouldn't even have been hacked in the past month or so. So do you really think, or rather, we didn't think that we could outspend. So that's why we decided, I think, cloud is a lot more secure in our point of view, because again, our firewall cannot beat what people like Microsoft can afford. Our antivirus, our anti-spam cannot beat what Microsoft can afford. So we leave it to the infrastructure specialists to actually manage it on our behalf. We just manage what we do best, which is helping companies to digitalize. Right? And of course, at the end, how do I make better business decisions using the data that I have? So what we do is we replace all of our outdated servers and our data centers already. We used to be a hosting company, but we realized that managing servers, managing emails, managing licenses was a very big hassle, was very expensive. It was very difficult to stay compliant. So we decided, let Microsoft figure it out, because Microsoft, in the end, they are a $1 trillion company. So I think they know a bit more about managing infrastructure than we do. Right. Now, bringing it all together, right? If you guys have your phone again, this is actually an example of how we actually use all of our technologies in one single product. Imagine that this hand sanitizer that you see, this home hygiene hand sanitizer, has this QR code. You can actually see it on the picture itself. You can actually see the QR code there. If you take your phone, you scan this QR code, right? Try it out. Just take 10 seconds to try this out. Scan the QR code on your phone. It should open up WhatsApp for you. Send that first message on WhatsApp. Then you can actually experience how we actually use digitalization to actually help a company like Home Hygiene to actually use the technologies that we carry to automate the entire journey, where a customer can actually scan, view the item, choose how many items they want to buy, receive an invoice, make payments, all fully automated without a single person at the back end actually managing this whole process, from creating the invoice to actually receiving payments to also even reconciling the payments. So it's fully automated. So we actually created this to benefit the end customer, because number one, everybody now, because of MySejahtera, everybody uses QR code, right? So they know how to use the QR scanner. Everybody uses WhatsApp because everybody uses that for communication. Of course, now with WhatsApp starting to share data with Facebook, people are getting a bit skittish about it. But again, WhatsApp is still predominantly the main communication tool for Malaysians. So you don't have to leave something that you are familiar with to actually get what you want to sell or what you want to buy. You actually receive the invoice of the item through WhatsApp as well, and you can actually pay the invoice through credit card the moment you click through that invoice. So the whole thing is fully automated. So this is what we mean by digitalization. Imagine if this product, when you're at home, you can't create invoices, this integration of all the systems that we carry can actually make that sale on your behalf without any human intervention. So this is the scale of digitalization that we aspire towards, we help our customer aspire towards. And then, of course, we also have different kinds of integrations where, just now I mentioned, we actually have Zendesk service desks, right? So the Zendesk service desk actually has all sorts of reports as well to actually see whether or not our agents are efficient or not, how many unresolved tickets are there, how many tickets are still open, what's the backlog. So we actually send some of these reports into our Microsoft Teams so that we don't actually have to go into Zendesk to actually go through the reports. If, let's say, I'm a manager, I want to see how effective my team is, I don't have to leave Teams to actually receive the reports on how effective my teams are, because the reports are sent to my Microsoft Teams directly. So these are some of the other integrations that we actually built for our customers as well. All right, so what's the whole idea behind all this? Why are we doing all this? So the whole idea is you want to do more with less. You want to be able to automate as much processes as possible. You want to save money, you want to simplify your process, you want to automate your reporting, reduce waste, reduce hardware needs, and always have the latest software to run your business. But of course, change is scary. A lot of us don't like to change. It's unknown. FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. My staff are old-fashioned. We are always going against the status quo, outside our comfort zone. So this is the next steps which I feel would be very useful for some of you embarking on the digitalization journey. So if you have a company strategy already, revisit your company strategy and refine it to include digitalization. How you want to use technology to improve this process. If you don't have a strategy, first thing you need to do is not think about technology. First thing you need to do is know what your business wants to achieve first. If you know your business processes well enough, you will also know what are the areas that can be improved. And if you already know what are the areas that you need to improve, then only you find a technology to actually plug in to improve the process. So the goal is actually to achieve improvement through technology, not have a technology and find a problem for it. All right. Of course, then you need to find the technology to map to the business needs. You need to set a timeline, fund the change, and then make the change. Some of you are actually here to actually find out about the grants. Sorry, it took me so long to get here. There are quite a number of grants available out there. The SME Business Digitalization Grant by MDEC is, I think that one is that is about that's for 5,000 ringgit. That's probably just enough to get your feet wet with one or two small systems to test out how you want to digitalize some of your processes. That's available. There are a lot of there's an ADF, Automation and Digitalization Fund, that's backed by Bank Negara, where the interest rates are really low, maybe about 3.5 to 4%. Okay, this is the interesting one, which is the SAG grant, Smart Automation Grant by MIDA, and also MDEC. Last year was MDEC, but then that one is already closed. So now MIDA has also started a SAG grant as well. I'll be speaking a bit more about this afterwards. MDEC, they are changing it a little bit, so we'll get more information, or we'll share more information when we get it from MDEC once they actually launch it. But they will be revisiting the SAG grant in the near future. And then, of course, there's a lot of other SME digitalization initiatives by SME Corp. If you are an SME, you should go to SME Corp website to actually register as an SME within SME Corp and get yourself scored. Scored is actually a process where they actually assess what stage are you as an SME, and based on the stage of your score, they can actually see whether or not you qualify for certain grants or certain loans or certain financial aids that they can actually help you. But it is based on score. So the first thing that you should be doing is getting yourself scored first, right? Then of course there are a lot of other soft loan schemes and automation modernization schemes from a lot of banks. Because of Penjana, the government launched this Penjana initiative, which is backed by Bank Negara. So there's a lot of options where you can actually get funding to actually fund some of this digitalization activities. Okay, I'll speak a bit about the MIDA SAG grant. If you guys want to take a picture, you can. Basically, you need to be at least 51% Malaysian owned. You need to have a business license. This is the next part is where it got a bit confusing for some. It says that you need to be in the manufacturing sector, but I've already clarified. You can also be in the services sector, and you don't actually have to. If you are in the services sector, you don't have to produce a manufacturing license or a manufacturing license exemption from MIDA. But if you are in the manufacturing industry, you need to have that license in order to apply for this grant. And if you haven't reached the threshold to actually get the license, you can apply for exemption from that before you actually qualify for this grant. So take note if you are manufacturing, but if you are not in manufacturing services, you don't need that. You don't need this license. It's eligible for both SMEs and also MTCs. MTC stands for MTC actually is their term for larger companies, larger conglomerates, multi-tiered companies. So basically, you have a holding company and you have subsidiaries. So those are MTCs. So naturally, it's the larger companies, so you can also apply. You need to be in operation for 12 months and you need to meet at least one of the committed deliverables. I'll share what are the deliverables later. So the criteria for the numbers is listed there on the right hand side table. 50 million for SME, cannot be over 50 million or not more than 200 staff. Or if you're in the services line, not more than 20 million ringgit and not more than 75 staff. MTC, of course, is a lot higher than that. All right. This information is available on the form that you can download from the MIDA website. So maybe later on I can actually share in the Q&A the MIDA website area where you can actually download this form. Some additional details of this grant is that it's up to $1 million, but keep in mind it's a matching grant. So for every $1 million you receive, you also need to spend 1 million. So it's 50-50 lah. So you're not going to get 1 million and spend nothing lah. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's a matching 50-50 grant. Unlike the MDEC grant where you actually had to whack everything out in 3 to 4 weeks, right? This one, they actually allow you up to 12 months to actually complete the project. So you've got a bit more runway to actually run this up. But if let's say if you don't finish the amount that they allocated for you, they'll actually withdraw back the fund that is unused. All right, so the effective date of application is until end of the year, so you have a bit of time. But keep in mind, there's only $100 million available. So first come, first serve lah. If 100 companies apply for $1 million, then sorry, more than it's only 100 people, 100 companies can get lah. From what I understand from the last briefing, so far only 11 companies have applied. So there's still a lot of opportunities, a lot of chance to actually apply and get this grant. And because it's $1 million, up to $1 million, not everybody's going to apply for $1 million because not everybody can spend $1 million on utilization. And also keep in mind that this grant is not just about digitalization. It can be a lot of other things as well through this. You look at this committed deliverables, right? There's a lot of ways you can actually achieve these deliverables of reducing unskilled workers, reduction man hours, increase productivity volume. So it's not just about systems. You can also buy hardware. Let's say, for example, you want to reduce your unskilled workers by buying a forklift, a smart forklift where you actually don't have to use brawn, you don't have to use strength, raw strength. So you can actually use the grant money to actually buy a smart forklift. Or let's say if you are installing stuff at very high rooftops, if you need to do inspections, you can apply for the grant to buy something like a drone, commercial grade drone, to actually fly up there to inspect before you actually send somebody climb up there to risk his life and limb to actually check the items that you're actually installing. So it's not just systems; it's also hardware. But having said that, there's a few non-eligible expenditures that you cannot use the money for. If you look on the right-hand side, so the left-hand side is what I mentioned just now: machinery, equipment, software you can buy, but you cannot use it to buy land. You cannot use it to rent hardware or equipment. I've clarified this second statement where you rental of software. Subscription software is eligible. You can actually subscribe to software as a service through this, but it's only a one-time thing. So let's say if you are actually subscribing to let's say Zendesk, for example. Zendesk, if you lump in the entire bill into one, where let's say you do 3 years lumped into one, and then you apply for the grant, you could get it. But if let's say you only get 1 year's subscription, second and third year they're not going to entertain you. So be smart about it. You apply everything in one go if possible. All right. So you can't buy second-hand stuff. You can't do maintenance. You can't use it for wages, legal stamp duties, insurance, and such. You can't do all this. Okay. No advertising, no R&D expenses, no such things. It's only to buy stuff, and also for software. Okay. Specifically for your services in your manufacturing. So it's systems and hardware. Okay. So if you are actually really interested to apply, right, these are some of the things that you need to prepare. Okay, application form, which you can download from the MIDA website. These are some of the information that you need to submit lah: the financial statements, company profile, business license. This one, if you're in KL, DBKL license, good enough. Manufacturing license are number 5. Manufacturing license only if you are actually a manufacturing company. If you are not, you don't need to submit this. And of course, number 6, the copy of license permit supplemented from the ministries. If let's say, for example, you are in the aviation industry, you need clearance from DCA. right? So all sorts of this kind of permits to support your claim that you actually need this to actually need the grant to buy that piece of hardware or that software to run your business. All right, that's the end. If you guys are interested to sign up more about the grant, please scan that, fill up that form, and also tell us what are the things that you're actually interested in. I put quite specifically what are the areas which I spoke about during this whole webinar. If you're interested in very specifically Hubspot or Zendesk for customer engagement or CRM, check that. If you're actually interested in the MIDA grant, check that. Or if you're interested in all, feel free to check all as well. Our guys will be in touch with you to actually find out more information and see how we can handhold you through this entire process if you're applying for the grant, or if you're actually looking for help to digitalize the business even without the grant. All right, thank you. Norman, back to you. I think we can go into Q&A now.
Yeah, thanks, Lance. I think we've run out a lot of time already. We overshot your schedule. It's about an hour already. Thank you so much for everyone who stayed back. So if you do have any questions or any inquiries that you want on the grant or how to apply, you just all you need to do is just scan that QR code which is on the screen at the moment, right? And then we will get in touch with you. Our team will get in touch with you. So it's not just application. We will also handheld you, right, Lance, through the process of applying the grant.
Handhold you through the process. What we've done in the past is we actually helped a few companies to actually apply for grant. We actually successfully got them approved as well. Just recently, just yesterday, we got another one approved. The fund also, they got the milestones have been approved as well. So we have a pretty good track record with grant applications. So we can actually help you handhold you through the entire process.
Yeah. So just my advice to you is like don't lose out. Right, there's only 11 applicants at the moment, so there's still so there's still what 89 more places to fill up.
No, a lot more, because we don't know what is the amount that they actually applied for. But the fund is up to 100 million. So if let's say they applied for 200,000, there's still a fair bit of money more.
Yes.
Okay, so that's for MIDA. There are a few other grants out there, which we will share in due time once we actually get more information about it. So far, we only know more about the MIDA grant, so we will actually talk about we can actually help you with the MIDA grant.
And if, like Lance mentioned, if you're a small SME and you're just looking to start off your digitalization journey, well, there is still the MDEC SME grant that is available, which is like 5,000 ringgit that you can actually apply for through us. So yeah, do get in touch with us and we will definitely help you out, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much for everyone who stayed back, and yeah, stay safe and stay healthy.
Okay, if there's any questions that anybody have, right, you can actually ask us in the Q&A section. But if you're shy, it's okay. You still can actually send us the inquiry through the form, or you can just email us at sales@vlan.asia or info@vlan.asia. We actually pick up all your questions and we respond to you as fast as we can.
Yep. Oh yeah. And before we leave, I would just like to remind everyone that we will send you the recording of today as well as the deck that Lance has actually shared. We will email you this information so that you can actually refer back to it at your convenience. Right. Thanks. Okay. Stay safe,
Thanks a lot for your time, everyone. Appreciate it. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Lance. Bye.